and welcome to GRCC's Building Information Modeling Briefing Session. As you may know, GRCC is in the midst of $30 million worth of bond issue renovations and also a State of Michigan capital outlay project. To date, we've completed the College Park Plaza renovation with OAK. That was valued at about $5.5 million. Current projects underway right now are the Cook Academic Hall renovation. Chrisman is handling that for us. About $11.3 million. That's a two-phase project, summer of this year and summer of next year. Also, the main building, Pioneer Construction is handling that for us. $9.3 million. That is also a two-phase project this summer and next summer. And we have upcoming projects. The Applied Technology Center, that's being handled by Chrisman at $4.5 million. A chiller plant, small project handled by Chrisman, $275,000. Another small project, our data center, being handled by OAK, valued at $327,000. The Learning Resource Center, which is our library, being handled by Rockford Construction for $2.9 million. The Sneeden Academic Hall renovation, which is this building we're in today, $1.4 million. The Student Center being handled by Rockford as well, $1.5 million. And our Tassel MTech being handled by OAK at $267,000. Now, several of our CMs, our retained CMs and AEs are in the building today. I've seen them. I'd like you to stand up and just let everybody see who you are. Thanks. Why don't you introduce yourselves quickly, starting here. David?
David Wilkins from GMB. Dan Raptor with O'Neill's Civil.
Judd Brood with C280.
Michael Tice with Rocket Construction.
James Becker, Becker Construction.
Krista Walling of Pioneer Construction.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see, BIM information modeling is or will be a key component to each of the projects that I've named. Consequently, as part of GRCC's strategic plans, it's the end of community outreach for us. We wanted to offer resources to enable small businesses and diverse businesses to effectively compete for GRCC projects. Today's session is just an example of one of those offered resources. Our presenter today is Lisa Drago, Autodesk BIM Specialist, Application Engineer, Autodesk Expert Elite. She's with Cal Blue. Cal Blue is a 53-year-old company that is founded on providing and servicing advanced solutions to the local construction market. They bring their relationships with industry-leading resources to their clients. Their partners include Autodesk, FM Systems, Bluebeam, McGraw-Hill Construction, as well as other clients. They supply the tools and resources required to be successful in today's evolving construction marketplace. Our agenda today is the introduction, which I'm doing now, what BIM is not, what BIM is, the importance of BIM, how disciplines are utilizing BIM, architecture, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and structure, coordination of those disciplines, the I in BIM, and delivery methods. I'd like to publicly thank our sponsors today, Associated Builders and Contractors, and also Grand Rapids Community College. Our goal today is that you'd enjoy this session, learn, and apply your learning to upcoming GRCC opportunities. And with that, I'll turn it over to Cal Blue. Thank you for being here.
I'm actually mic'd, so I'm good. Thank you for that introduction. Greatly appreciated. It's great to see everybody here. Just want to give a little bit of background on myself so you know who I am. I'm not just someone they pulled off the street and dropped in here. I have 22 years in industry, so by trade I am a drafter. That's something that I had always loved. I preferred board drafting, believe it or not. Definitely was a passion, but of course, getting into the computer age, fell in love with computers, and when I saw they had the both, shoved them together, yes, that was my career. Over the years, I started out actually in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's where I had gotten my first career job and have just expanded ever since then. I've started out with electrical engineering, mass transit for subways, of course, railroads. That was within my first employment. I switched over to piping and instrumentation. That's when I actually came to Michigan. So a little bit of travel in there, had to come away from my home, but Michigan has now certainly become my home and very much enjoy it. So piping and instrumentation, Pharmacia, is it Pfizer now? I was out there for a few years. I've done MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural, architectural. The only thing I haven't done is civil. It just never fell in my lap and I had zero interest in it. So I have a very varied background. I do a lot of different things and I fully enjoy it. That's one of the reasons I like coming up and being able to discuss what I know. This is definitely not about me. I want to make this about you because you need the information, okay? I'm just going to provide the information. So I like interaction. Having questions is very good, okay? If you have a question, get my attention one way or another. You know, I also teach, so I tell my students, if I just go in, throw something at me if you have to. Get my attention, okay? But I would like to request when you do ask a question to give your name and who you are with. I have some coworkers in the back who are going to be taking some notes on the questions. Just if there's something that I don't know, which I don't know everything, I'll be the first to admit that. If I don't know it, what I will do is find it out for you. Okay, so I need your information so that I can get back in contact with you and give you the information. Probably send that information out to everyone, okay? So if, again, just your name, who you're with, and your question, okay? I will answer the best of my abilities. There may be questions that some of my coworkers may answer, that they'll either get them a mic or have them come up front and help out with that. I definitely don't do this alone. I like to have my team with me and move forward and do what we can. Trying to think what else. I've got, I'm going to say a little bit of my background. I currently do work for Cal Blue. It'll be 5 years in March. Came on as their Autodesk tech support. So I handle all of their technical aspect of the Autodesk software. Anyone running into issues from installation to using the software, I take care of it. I train on the software. I hold training classes pretty much every week. I also am a part-time instructor at a different community college. We're not going to name names. But at another community college, I do teach Introduction to Revit Architecture. So I'm very much immersed in it. I love it. So it's a lot of knowledge, and again, I want to get that knowledge out to you. So if you have questions, go ahead and ask. And yes, sir.
I'm Mansfield Matthewson. I'm with Grand Rapids Community College.
Thank you, sir.
And I forgot just a couple housekeeping items. Those of you that want to get on the internet, if you'd like a user ID, the username is contractors. Contractors, small case. Password GRCC, caps, BIM, lowercase, all one word. GRCC in caps and then BIM lowercase. Also, I forgot to announce restrooms. Men out the rear door to the right, ladies out this door to the left. And also, if you'd silence your cell phones, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so I think that is everything. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The agenda, he kind of stole my thunder with that. He already mentioned it, which it's all right. It's always good to hit it a second time. So what BIM is not? It's usually a good one to hit up front. We're going to talk about what BIM is. The importance of BIM, how disciplines are using BIM, coordination of disciplines, the I in BIM, That's always a big one. Everyone wants to know what the I is and how it's being used. So definitely need to discuss that. Delivery methods, useful materials, and then at the end, if there are any more questions, we'll definitely have time for that. Okay? So what BIM is not. So I want to hit some common misconceptions of what BIM is. And we're not just talking 3D. We want to get into 4D and 5D. Okay? You know, if I asked, you know, if I took a poll in this room of what BIM stands for, just the BIM, I'd probably get a lot of diverse answers. So I kind of want to dispel what BIM is and go from there. So some of the misconceptions: it's too expensive. It's usually a good one. BIM requires highly technical skilled technicians. It's easy. The computer does all the work. It's a cure-all for projects. You have to 4D the entire model. Everything has to be done down to the nuts and bolts. It's just a fad. It's not going to stay. So it's too expensive. I hear this comment a lot. We want to use it, we just don't have the budget on this project to do it. Now, I would ask how many have said that, but I'm not going to, because I understand. It's overwhelming to think about this process. So if we break it down a little bit, we're going to consider this. You hire someone, or you have someone, if it needs modeled, you hire someone at a certain set price. Takes them however long. So I've got it at one person, 5 hours at $60 an hour, okay? So that's $300. Pay someone $300 to model. Now these are not exact dollar amounts, okay? So don't hold me to that. But for an example, pay someone $300 to model their building. Because of the information that's in there, when you're actually out in the field, you have a sub-meeting, 6 people, over $100 an hour. That's a little bit of a difference, right? So you're saving a little bit of money. Might be a lot of money. But that's not even taking into account the time that's being saved because of that information you have. Okay? You're having everything pretty well set. You know where everything is going. So it's taking less time in the field to follow through on your project. Time equals money, right? I think I got one head nod. A couple more. All right. Like I said, I like interaction. So you want to scream something out, scream it, head nod, throw a hand up. The more interaction, the better. Because that helps me to know what you're thinking, okay? So you need to consider the pros and cons of everything, okay? Requires highly skilled technician. Now, I'm pretty much one of those serious BIM people, and I may tell you this is really hard. You got to know everything. You got to know how to run everything, all the different softwares. You have to know this information. I may say that. Chances are I'm not going to, because I love to teach. I'd rather give you the information so that you can do it and you can succeed. So no, you don't have to have that highly skilled person. Each and every one of you can get on a computer and manipulate a model. Get in and get through the software, navigate a model, extract information from it. Every one of you in this room can do that, okay? You're gonna say, I am too old. No, you're not. You're not too, no one is too old to do this, okay? In my classes, I have taught 18-year-olds right out of high school, and I have taught people who are in the senior level of life. Try to put that, I try political correctness, yes. So anybody can learn this, okay? It's, where's your level of fear? If you're afraid to do it, yeah, you're not gonna succeed at it, okay? So it's getting past, well, I have to know everything. You don't have to know everything, okay? You can hire that young kid from a tech school, from a college, and have him run through the stuff. Not necessarily paying him that $60, but he can run through, model stuff up rather quickly, gives him experience, and helps your company out in the long run. Okay, so you don't have to be highly technical on computers or the software. It's easy, the computer does it all, right? The computer does everything. You know, we'd like to think that. There are methods and practices that have to be in place. You need to consider what you do now, how you're going to implement BIM, because there are certain things that need to be in place. Once you get those things in place, you will see the value increase. You will see that exponential ROI. Everyone wants the ROI. What's my ROI going to be? It takes a little bit of time. If anything, I will not lie to you. I usually scare my sales guy because I'm pretty blunt. It is what it is. It's a process, okay? It's going to take time to implement it, time to get up and running with it, but it's not impossible, okay? Computer does a lot of work, but there are information and standards that need to be put in place to utilize everything. It's a cure-all for projects. Software is going to fix everything. My schedules will be cut. My budget's going to be cut. I'm going to make so much more from this. While yes, that's true, many returns getting that implementation. But again, going back to what I had just discussed, up front, you got to put the work in. You got to get that information. You're not necessarily changing your processes. You're adding to your current processes, okay? BIM should not totally overtake what you do. This is going to be connected to, it's going to add on to what you're doing now. It's going to enhance what you're doing now, okay? It isn't easy, should not keep you out of the game, okay? Big thing is information. Getting the understanding of what BIM is, and that is why we're here. We want to be a resource for you. We want to assist any way we can, but don't let it stop you. Don't let this big BIM thing stop you, okay? Promise you. We'll help you, and we'll get you going, all right? So you have to hold D the 4D the whole project. So we got the Taj Mahal there. Yeah. Definitely not, okay? You don't have to 4D the entire project. You can get started with just some simple modeling, just some mass modeling. You'd be amazed at what you can start, the computations and information you can extract from just a mass. Doesn't necessarily have all the floors, but you can even start energy analysis from mass modeling. So it's not having to get every nut and bolt in the building. If you do, I'm going to have a little conversation with you, because that's over modeling. That's a little too much. So there are levels for everything, okay? So you don't have to be all the way in this. You don't have to have everything done. You can start at the beginning. Just a fad. Now this is one I have certainly heard a lot about. I still hear it. Board drafters. Like I said, I started out with board drafting, loved it. It's not going to stay. This is going to go just like everything else on the wayside. What I do now works. I don't need to change. It's just going away. Well, BIM is quickly becoming the gold standard for firms. Okay? People are noticing the difference that it creates. Time saving, cost reducer. Companies that are jumping on board are seeing this, okay? In the Midwest, the second highest region for BIM adoption. It's coming, it's here, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. 81% of companies take BIM capability into account when evaluating firms. I was actually on a phone call yesterday, and it just, at the time, it's like, okay, you know, keep going. And I was driving home to Kalamazoo, and it kind of hit me that this firm we were talking with, that if someone wants their stuff in AutoCAD, it's an upcharge now. They charge more for having AutoCAD, for having to have their people go back to AutoCAD and work in AutoCAD than it is for Revit. That was actually kind of eye-opening to me. Because usually it's been the other way around. Oh, you want Revit? Oh, that's an upcharge. That's a surcharge. That's going up there. Definitely more money. That just showed me the change that's coming. If you want AutoCAD, that's going to be an upcharge. So something to consider. 62% of BIM users perceive positive ROI in 2012. Now I have a few slides in, a little comparison from 2009 to 2012. So it's getting better and better. The first adopters, of course, had the most pain. A lot of stuff's been figured out. That's what we want to help. We want to help with what's already been figured out, what works and what doesn't. 80% of contractors will be at heavy or very heavy BIM implementation by next year. Next year is not that far away, shockingly. I mean, we're past mid-September. So 2014 is knocking on the door, waiting to come in. So the information about this is also in Smart Market Reports from McGraw-Hill. That's some of my information that I did get that from, is in that Smart Market Report. So what BIM is not? It's not 2D CAD. I have actually seen projects where companies drew everything in AutoCAD, linked it into Revit, and sent a Revit file. That's not BIM. 2D is not BIM. It's a flexible process, okay? Every one of you, or every company that is represented here, is a different portion of it. You're doing different things. You don't have to do everything. What your portion is, we can work with. It can be implemented and successfully adopted. Don't have to be a computer genius? Definitely not. And there are many options and many resources that are available. Okay? So before I go forward, comments, questions, concerns, thoughts? Anything? Or are we heading into the after lunch slumber? 4D, I'm getting there. 4D is the addition of time. You have a 3D model. Going one more step is adding time to that model, getting into a virtual construction. And I have a demonstration of that, where we're adding time to it. Yes. 5D? 5D is getting into estimating, being able to add in calculations of your counts, linear feet, and then adding dollars to that. All right, so no other questions? Yes, sir.
Could you explain the upcharge going back to AutoCAD? Are you saying going back to 2D?
Yes. There is a fundamental difference between AutoCAD and Revit. I compare it to an apple and a steak. AutoCAD is an apple, Revit is a steak. They are in two different ballparks totally.
But Revit can reduce
Yes,
apples.
it can. It definitely can.
I guess I'm just not following that. Is it just the upcharge for the not allowing for the coordination that's happening ahead of time?
It is having, their comment was, it's for having to have their workers, their modeling people,
Sure.
work back in AutoCAD because it's a struggle. It's because the processes are so different. How you work in Revit is not how you work in AutoCAD.
Just vanilla AutoCAD or MEP?
Just vanilla AutoCAD.
Okay.
There is such a fundamental difference. Going back between the two is not always easy, and they prefer using Revit.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
We're going to do the mic. And again, please, for questions, give your name and the company you're with.
John Doherty with Associated Builders and Contractors. We had a meeting last week with some electrical contractors, and we talked about BIM and how that's being implemented and this and that. And there was a fair amount of conversation about some of the barriers to the effective use of it. Yes, we do it. We know about it. We've got people that can do it, but it's not quite fitting in quite yet. And so I just thought to myself, well, today when we're at the meeting, maybe you could describe, as you go through some of this, what are the barriers to adoption of BIM, the barriers to implementation, and the barriers to collaboration, because that's all part of the process.
Correct.
And maybe as you go through, you can identify these things that are coming back from the field where people have started to use it and are saying it's going to be great in 10 years, or it's going to be great in 5 years, but right now it's kind of a mess, or it doesn't work well on a bid job. Pull together the people that we really want to use. Some of the bidders are not skilled in BIM, but some of the bidders that are skilled are probably going to overprice their bid, so they're not going to get on the job. So how is this all kind of coming together in real time, in addition to sort of this background or the basics of BIM, I guess is the point that I wanted to make.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, as the process goes, I mean, it is a process. That implementation does take time. One of the biggest things that I've seen is training, getting your understanding. Yes, I'm a trainer. No, I'm not specifically pushing training, okay? Do what you need to do. A lot of people try to pick up Revit and just run with it, and it can't be done. Dealing with that in the field, you know, every company is different. Every company does work differently. It's a step-by-step process. In my conversation yesterday, it's, well, how far down are you modeling electrically? Standard from what I know from drafting, you know, we would two-line down to a 2-inch conduit. Piping, I believe, was 3/4 inch. You would two-line it. Beyond that, single line. Still holds true for Revit. You're going to model everything up to that 2-inch. Anything below, you can use model lines. Just tag it, note what it is. Implementation within the field, I've been working on a project down in Kalamazoo. There are hiccups. There are definitely hiccups. You know, somebody who said they were on board were not. They had us come on board to assist with that because they needed the model. So I whipped up a model for them. You know, I'm not sure I'm actually answering your question correctly. And Kip, who is president and CEO of CalBlue.
The barriers, if I could butt in here for a minute, from what I see from where I sit, a lot of the contractors, architects, owners have to do a better job of communicating of what the long-term goals are, not just the construction goals. If there was ever a time in the construction industry that contractors, architects, and everybody down the food chain needed to understand what the owner's long-term use was, it's now. So one of the barriers to the full adoption of BIM is having a contractor understand the informational side of BIM and how that can benefit an owner 10 years from the construction project. That's where this whole thing is headed. That's why owners are driving this process through the trades, is because they're starting to identify the informational piece that BIM provides in terms of their long-term facility management. You'll hear terms like CAFM, which stands for Computer-Aided Facility Management. You'll hear acronyms all over the place like that. But what that means is all of those providers like FM Systems, who we're partnered with, and others, TMA is working on it diligently for Western Michigan University, but is to tie that BIM informational piece provided by the trades through submittals and all those things that happen on traditional construction process and convert that into the BIM deliverable. So from an adoption perspective at the trade level, understanding that information piece, how to get it into the model, understanding what a model is and how that data is collected, and then handed over to the owner to change that delivery process is where this is all headed. So if I could make any recommendation to construction firms and trades and architects, is understand the informational piece and what the owner is going to do with it, instead of just flipping the keys over the wall at the end of the project and saying, here, good luck. You know, that long-term benefit is why owners are adopting this, spending the time to have meetings like this, so that everybody gets on the same page with what that long-term goal is, not just the construction goal. So that's kind of my little soapbox for why everybody needs to engage and step up to the plate and understand what an owner's true need is beyond the last nail driven in the project. And the firms that do that successfully will be the successful ones that get more work, because the big owners are the ones doing the construction, healthcare, higher ed. They've got tons of square footage. They're using this information to manage space, assets. You know, a penny per square foot savings to somebody like this or Western or a big hospital is a lot of money. So that's what they're using that information to drive improved processes throughout their facilities. So as trades, you're directly linked to that because you're providing the information and the infrastructure that they've got to manage for the next 50 years. Understanding that long-term goal will help you understand why you need to adopt BIM today.
You know, one, I would hope that Mansfield, you and your team would talk about how it's going here on the first few projects that you've done, because, you know, that's very innovative, and it's an opportunity to learn from what somebody has stepped out to do in real time, in real world. The other aspect of it, I think, is a lot of people thought that through IPD that was going to be the panacea for this on how to pull teams together, and yet we're still seeing more of the continuation of the bid market as the way to pull the teams together. And I'm wondering whether the increase in the work in the economy and people getting more choosy about who they're going to do business with, and some of this may drive more of the design, build, negotiated type of activity that I think it was really meant to be. It was mainly, I felt, a process to bring teams together to do a better job of building buildings. And having gone through the Great Recession and the emphasis on low bid and low cost for the contract seems to have put that aside for a while. And I wonder whether we'll get back to what I think was probably the dream and the biggest potential in use of BIM and pulling teams together to build buildings.
Hi, I'm Abbott Kostanek, Facilities Coordinator with Grand Rapids Community College. And just for reference, we've started out with BIM last year in 2012. The first project that we worked with was the bond renovation over in College Park Plaza. Since then, we've also utilized BIM in the Cook Hall renovation and also in the main building renovation as well. We anticipate using BIM for the remainder of our bond renovation projects as well, being Sneeden Hall, ATC, and the Learning Center. And from our experience so far, I'd say that it's been a success and we've been happy with it. One of the benefits that I've seen and experienced is the collaboration meetings where all the skilled trades meet together, once every 2 weeks, and we take a look at the BIM model and we identify clashes. Is there a structural beam and some ductway that are occupying the same space? If there is, those are identified, and all the skilled trades work together, and we identify what needs to be changed so that we can get ahead of the process versus later on when we're in the field building the structure. We're already aware of it, and we can make changes ahead of time. So it helps us to be a little more proactive and avoid change orders, which, as we all know, can be costly and can also delay the critical path of projects. And is there anything else that I can help you answer at this time?
Foresee a time where you try to move that process to pre-bid or negotiated work? Is that where you hope to eventually get? Because you're losing some time with having to build a model after this. Just going through some of the same problems as a complete industry for a lot of change orders and design changes and stuff after the contractors have already bid it. I think the dream again was to have that up front, do that work up front, so that the model when you forward was pretty well set. Those issues of time spent in flash detection and things like that were already taken care of. It's a pretty straight stream ahead rather than just going back and forth. And so you, as a school, you anticipate trying to get to the point where you build teams that can take on these projects as opposed to identifying a CM and they build, they bid it out and they pull it together. You foresee maybe getting with the construction managers who seem to get this, to pull their teams together.
I could see that being a possibility, yes.
Find that more difficult when it comes to the public institution.
Thank you.
I think one of the things that, in what you're talking about, John, is that the trades have to be able to operate in that environment. And, Abbott mentioned the word proactive. And if the trades need to be proactive, and what we're seeing is from an informational side is the data entry on a project for these owners that want to collect the data. I've been in, if I've been in one, I've been in 50 meetings where it gets down and then this room goes silent because who's going to enter the data? Who's paid to enter the data? So in terms of participation and who's on a project and who can compete, it's got to be contractually written. There's some burden on the owners too, to provide a contractual understanding of who is responsible for what. Because in a traditional process, coordination and so forth has been historically pushed on the CMs or GCs that's as part of construction. Whereas now the BIM tools are available that architectural firms should be doing that as a quality control process before they're issued to the project. Navisworks, all these tools that are out there that gives the architects the ability to coordinate their drawings before they hand them over to the CM. So there's got to be some contractual understanding of phasing in projects and who's responsible for what that I don't think have been completely ironed out by anybody yet. Integrated project delivery is out there. There's been some in this area, but you mentioned design build. Personally, I think the design build environment is what is probably the better support mechanism for a BIM process, truthfully. Public, I know the negotiated contracts and so forth, where you set up teams is tough in a public environment, but my guess is there's gonna be a time when those that can and those that can't are gonna get filtered out and those teams are gonna be built, frankly.
Yes, sir.
My question my question is, has the campus started to develop what they want for a FIM, a facilities infrastructure model, so that we know as a general contractor what information we're supposed to rely on? We are all dependent on BIM as a collaboration to check for clashes, but to what level and what element is truly needed? Because what information are you going to take beyond the construction of this model? I've been working with this from schematic design right through occupancy and facilities management model, and there's a big difference on how we get to that final goal. And I'm wondering what the campus's final goal is, so that might help the architect in a design bid build. It gives you a requirement that the architect has to maintain in a design. Then it gives each of the disciplines their requirement of what they need to have to hand over, so that you have your tools to take to the next level. Have you started that documentation process of what you need?
To answer your question, yes, we have developed a BIM guide and a BIM execution plan that's tailored to meet the college's needs for what the Grand Rapids Community College Facilities Department would like to have in the BIM models, which does call out, data points for mechanical and electrical and structural elements, whether it be, information on a chiller or an air handler unit. We have worked out and identified fields so that the subcontractors are aware of what information and what data GRCC is interested in harnessing, so that we can manage that for years to come after the project is complete. To date, right now, Kip, we're working on modeling College Park Plaza, which was our first BIM project, and then as the bond work progresses, we're working to develop those buildings in Revit as well.
Is it your goal to have all campus buildings modeled in Revit at some point?
Yes, it is.
Hi, I'm Benjamin Moore. I'm with Integrated Design Solutions out of Troy, Michigan. We're an A&E firm. We're currently working with Grand Rapids Community College. There's different levels to BIM. There's level 200, 300, 400, 500. Most of the information is going to come from a level 4 or 500. Does anyone disagree with that? Most of the things that he is referring to as of maintenance of machinery, taking out filters, things like that, filter changes, that comes at a level 400, 500. There's a lot that happens before you get there. And that is what a lot of the contractors here are asking about. What happens then? Like John, you were mentioning, for us to take on BIM, we started it at IDS last September. So we have been into it 1 year, okay? I have been doing it a lot longer, okay? I came onto IDS in 2009. I used to be a detailer for a contractor. So there's a lot of information that goes in beforehand. There is a lot of, so to speak, heartaches that go in with BIM. Number one is you have software that you have to buy that is very expensive. Number two, you have to have the hardware to run that software. Once you have those two, then you will find the issue of finding people to actually run that. You have a lot of individuals that, we are a microstation house originally. Why? I don't know. I still don't know. So that was a 2D thing. I came from an AutoCAD world. I had issues with microstation when I first got into it. So we still have gentlemen, guys and ladies that have been there 20, 30 years, that they are the ones who are struggling with this 3D realm that we are currently pushing people to. So we are on a reduced staff almost. We have 100 people, but we only have 20 to 25 that can truly run Revit and do it proficiently. We have 75% of our work in-house that is Revit and BIM. So do the math. I'm working 7 days a week, okay? So there's a lot of information that you as a contractor, your biggest goal is getting the building built. That information part is definitely more part for the owner in the end. But the architectural firms have been almost forced to do this almost as a benefit to helping along the construction process. We just finished a project where we had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, about 26 weeks, 27 weeks of coordination. It was a big project though. But it was the contractors coming in, similar to what Abbott was saying, coming in. I'm not understanding the 2-week thing because we met 3 times a week to do construction coordination documents. All the contractors came in with their 3D models and we coordinated via Navisworks. So there's different avenues that you can get to the Navisworks, to the coordination process. There's AutoCAD MEP, there's Revit. Bentley has a software. The different contractors, they will bring their own software. Sheet metal contractors will bring their own software to the table that runs almost on a 3D background for AutoCAD MEP. I know there's East Coast, there's CADMech, those kinds of softwares. But the end result right now for contractors that I have seen is getting the building built. We have yet to release a model that has that information in it that tells the owner, okay, you are going to change these filters out 6 months from now. Because it falls back on what you were saying. Whose responsibility is that? That's what I'm here for today, to find out where are we driving this industry. Does that fall back on the architectural firm's hands when we do as-builts? Because our as-builts have basically been the contractor's install drawings with a little bit of changes to them. We sign them, send them out. So who is paid to put that information in there for the client? That's what we need to find out. So it's not, it can be an easy process if you have the right tools, like anything. You can go out and build a lake if you want to, if you have the right equipment. You're starting with a shovel, it's going to be an all-day job, a whole lot of all-day jobs. So that's just the whole key behind all this, is having the right tools and the right people. It can be a very easy process, but it can also be a very difficult one. So that's just my knowledge on it. Hopefully that'll help you. I can talk to you later about it if you'd like, to give you some of our woes about it. But for the most part, it is an awesome, awesome tool. She is 100% correct. It is here to stay. This is where we have to go. But where it falls and who does what at what stages is what we have to figure out as an industry.
Any other questions? All right, if you do have questions, you can write it down. We'll have time at the end also, okay? So we'll continue forward. What is BIM, okay? We're gonna jump right in here. So, the information in the process. 3D modeling, 2D documentation, virtual construction, getting into 4D and 5D. So the BIM process. BIM is a digital representation of your building, okay? It helps to facilitate that exchange of information. As many projects as I've been on, MEP tends to lag behind. They're the last ones to get any information. And I can be sending out a project and MEP is still working. I always felt bad about that because I never got it. I still don't get it. But you want that communication up front. Everybody needs to be on the same page at the same time to produce what you're doing. With this process, it's there is no lag time. There's no reason for a lag time. It may be a lack of understanding of changes of processes, but you need everybody up front. You can even bring on your contractors up front. Get your CM up front. You know, for the CMs that are here, wouldn't it be really nice to be on there up front, to be getting the initial information? That would probably be quite helpful, right? A couple of head nods. I'll take that as a yes. So BIM does not change fundamental roles. Okay? What you do now is what you're going to continue with. All right? It is a process. That's the biggest thing that I want to get across. BIM is a process. I get phone calls all the time. I need the BIM software. I don't have any. I don't. And I got to stop and kind of have them pause and think, what is it you want to do? What are you trying to get into? Well, I need the BIM software. I have a tool that can get you into 3D modeling, get you into clash detection. I have a lot of tools, but I need to help them understand that this is a process. This is a collaboration. This is everybody coming together in this process. So it's having that conversation, slowing them down, and discussing it. What is it that you do? And then I can help you with what you need. So I want to point out, it's definitely a process. You want to be able to coordinate. It says it states, coordinate, update, share design data with the entire team. You've got to have the entire team on the same page. And then construction and into the management phase. Management phase is important to an owner. Ultimately, it's the owner's building, and they got to take care of it for the next 50, 100 years, right? So our goal should be in assisting that owner in that management of their building. Again, you just don't want to flip the keys over, as Kip said. You want to help them to manage that building, and they're going to remember that, and they'll call you again. 3D modeling, the virtual representation of your project. So I'm not sure how well you guys can see what's on the screen, but just 2D, couple lines representing some ductwork. Don't know everything that's going on there. If I can take it to a next step, I have a two or a double line drawing. That helps out tremendously. I now can visually see my duct sizes, see what's going on, see if anything's going to, come in and clash with something else. We've got some actual cable tray that's here. I believe it's running under. So I've got a little bit better idea. Well, what if I can take it and rotate it and see exactly what's going on? So this, I'm looking at it from the underneath. I can see that cable tray is going to pass without any issues. I'm not running into anything. So this gives a very clear visualization of what's happening in this area, right? I think that's a little bit easier to visualize than that 2D drawing, that single line drawing, correct? Now, with working with a lot of different people over the years, there aren't a whole lot of people that can actually look at a 2D drawing and visually see it 3D, correct? You can hand over a drawing to an owner, yeah, that's exactly what I want. And you're in the middle of constructing it, and they're like, that's not what I want. That's not what no, that's not going to be good. So that causes a lot of problems, right? So you got to go back through, figure it out. Meanwhile, your people in the field are just kind of, okay, we'll stand here for a while, and you decide what you want, and then we'll move forward. You got to take that guessing out of it being able to visualize 3D what an owner's getting, it takes that guesswork out of it. Being able to document duct flows, where all your piping and all your ducts are coming to. How valuable is that? I've been on an actual project out in the field dealing with trades, and duct guys came through, put their duct in, piping. They put the pipe exactly where the drawing said, and they went right through a duct. I would almost say common sense. I'm not going to throw that out there. They followed the drawing. Yeah, that's not always the best thing to do. Okay, use your brain. Definitely, we all have one. But this is going to take the guesswork out of it, being able to see it 3D and know exactly your space is set. You've got everything you need to know. Everything will fit in this space. I don't have to guess where it's going. It's not who gets out there first. It's all going to fit, okay? So you want to take that guesswork out of it, and running into 3D modeling definitely assists in that process. 2D documentation. Paper drawings go away. No, definitely not. They still convey information. But on top of that, they're still a legal document. You go to court and you bring those 2D documents, those paper drawings that have been sealed and signed, they're going to believe that more than they're going to believe a 3D model that can be manipulated at any time. There's no real way to lock that down and guaranteed it's never been modified since. With that 2D document, that's binding. They're going to hold your feet to the fire with that 2D documentation. So the tools, like laptops, iPads, other mobile devices, they're there to help. Okay? It's not taking over everything. They're there to assist, give you the information that you need right at your fingertips. Okay? I was going to do a little demonstration, but my programs is not working, so I can reflect my laptop onto my iPad onto the laptop, but being able to take that out, and if I had this model, be able to visually see what's above the ceiling. I can't see what's above the ceiling tile, can I? I got to pull my ladder out, pop the ceiling tile, get my flashlight going, and see what's up there. If I had the model, there's software that's available that I could just stand here, visually lift it up, and see the piping and the electrical, see where everything's going. That would be a bit helpful, right? You know, where's that information? Where's that stinking squeak coming from? You know, if you got a VAV box up there, well, where's it at? Do I have to pop all the ceiling tiles to find it? I can scan my room and find where that's at. So there are a lot of tools that are available to assist. They're not taking over. They're there to assist with your process. Visual construction. So getting into the 4D, the question was asked, what is 4D? 4D is time. You want to add time to a project. Construction takes time, right? It's not just one day you decide, well, I'm going to build this building. The next day, you go to bed, sleep for 6, 7 hours, hopefully. Wake up, bam, there's your building. No. Takes time. So getting into 4D, you can virtually construct your building. Being able to virtually construct it, you know what you need when. On what week are my columns going up? When am I pouring my floor? When is everything happening? So this is going to help with scheduling, being able to have your materials on site when you need them. So everyone knows what this is, right? I got head nods. All right, some of you know. It's a Gantt chart. definitely has everything scheduled out. What's happening when? Now, I will note on you, there's two lines, or two, I can bring it here. You got two definite timelines that are going. There's one that's planned and one that's actual. It happens, right? There's always scope creep. There's always something going on. But being able to take this into, hopefully, one too many clicks. You're not going to run. This should be running. There we go. Being able to virtually construct a building. At the top, it's probably going to be very hard to read, but it has the day, the week, and actually what's happening. The percentage of construction that's being done. So virtually, I'm constructing how my model's coming together. As it's going, I'm going to know what materials I need when. That's going to help out a lot because that deals with logistics. Getting into, if you have a crane that's got to come in to drop a piece of equipment on, do you have other materials that are in the way? Is there a better time to plan this? So being able to virtually construct your building, I think would go a long way and assist with that planning. So at the top, it's stating that it is day 215, 31 weeks, I think that says up there. So it just ran through in about a minute, minute and a half, building that construction model. Now, would anybody kind of step out and say, yeah, that would probably help me a bit? Anybody? Not a single hand, so that won't help anybody. Good to know. 5D, getting into estimations. Estimating is not a whole lot of fun, is it? You're going to be counting and calculating. Well, what if you had that model that had that information? Would that not assist you? No? Yes? Try and get somebody on board, maybe. All right. So, being able to help with material takeoffs, everything. So, if you have that model, you're going to be able to take that. It's now, I want to say, with the release of 2014 Navisworks, the quantification is in there. QTO, the Autodesk Quantity Takeoff, is actually no longer available. That stopped in 2013 because in 2014, they put QTO in Navisworks. They integrated the two, so now using Navisworks will do that quantity takeoff for you, okay? So being able to get, how much linear feet do you have of, how much concrete do you have? How much steel? Do you think that would assist in any way? How many doors do you have? How many's ever miscounted a door? Yeah, I didn't think anyone would admit to that one. It happens. It's life, right? Nobody's perfect. Nobody is perfect. I'm certainly not perfect. I'll be the first one to admit that. But if I have something that's going to assist in that process, I'm going to use it. So, and again, this is really small. Try to blow up a small area of it. So on the left-hand side here, I've got columns. I've got some W flanges, 14 by 99. If I come across, I've only got 67.147 cubic feet of that specific column. I've got 9 of them. So, going down the list, this is quantifying it. It's telling me how many of these do I have. You can schedule out how much linear feet, and you can start adding cost to it. So that's getting into that 5D process, being able to use what's already available. If you already have a model, why not use it to its full capacity, to its full abilities? And why not let it assist you in what you're doing? Right? Couple more head nods. All right. I'm working to pull you in. So, questions, thoughts? Just keep going. Yes? Where's, all right.
My name is Olga Lucia from Plun. How much accurate is the model comparing with the work that we do in our computers now for estimating and scheduling? I mean, I know that it could be so accurate, but how is the combination of both?
Well, the accuracy definitely depends on who's modeled it and if they modeled it correctly. I mean, it's not that simple, but it kind of is. It can be down to the first, get down to an inch or a quarter inch. How accurate do you want that information set? I think in some BIM execution plans, it's actually stated to how detailed it should be. So it really kind of depends on how well it was modeled to begin with.
Yeah, but you say before that you don't need to model in everything.
Right up front to make that first initial step, no.
Oh, for the initial.
For that initial step, for getting information. If you're getting into the construction phase, yeah, everything better be in there, because that's the information you need. Because you're going to take those construction documents right from that model. So that's what you need to build from. So at that point, once you get into the CD and get into CA, yeah, everything's got to be in there. Right up front, the initial, no, you can start getting that information. You can start out with the mass modeling, start getting some square footages. But as the process progresses, the information has to be put in. Does that help? Yes. Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Lights on or lights off, we're doing this paper work better. Wednesday.
Okay. Hang with for a little bit longer, and then we'll have a short break. It's probably needed, correct? Couple more head nod. All right. Hang with you just for a little bit longer. The importance of BIM. Communication, getting into the visualization, ROI. Now, everyone should admit ROI is important, right? A few head nods? All right. So minimizing errors and omissions, very important. Minimizing RFIs. So communication, visualization is very powerful, correct? If you can visually see something, you can usually build it. Pretty much what I believe. If I can visualize something, I can draw it. It's how I kind of work. If I can't see it in my head, yeah, nothing's going to be coming out. So visualization. Got a stair going up. There's more happening here than I can actually see right here. Okay? I take a look at it in 3D. There's a lot happening. This is going to give me more information than just that floor plan. I got a little closet underneath my stair. I need to know that. Yeah, I can do sections and elevations, They work. They've worked for many, many years. This is going to give me more information. This is visually showing me how this is going to look when I'm finished, what's happening with it, okay? Communication. Visualization is a very powerful communicator. You know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. What's a model worth? Sounds about right. So being able to visualize what's happening at a connection point. How are these actually connecting? How are they coming together? Okay? That's going to help out a lot, correct? How's your rebar going to sit in this pier? How's it all going to come together? That helps out a lot, correct? Takes the guesswork out. Now this, I don't believe, I could be wrong, I don't believe this trumps your intelligence of being out in the field and actually working, okay? You guys have been out there for many, many years. You definitely know what works. You've been there, you've done it, you've hit the good stuff, and you're guaranteed to hit some bad stuff. But if it takes some of that guesswork out, it's going to go a long way, correct? A couple more head nods, all right. We'll get there. The ROI, return on investment. This is always important. So getting into some of this information, and I've got it also on my iPad here. Make sure I give my information correctly. Almost there. All right, got to have my notes. And so this is, and I am referring to the Smart Market Report, the McGraw-Hill Smart Market Report. This information is going to be in there. This was the 2012 edition, I believe. So long-term benefits, getting into, in the long run, what's this going to do for me? Because this isn't just about today, right? It's what's going to happen a year from now? What's going to happen in 5 years? What's going to happen in 6 months? You know, that's a little bit shorter, but I need to know what's going to happen and how everything's going to come together. So one of the things that's pointed out is the increased profits. If I can come up here. Between 2009 and 2012, there's a 70% increase in profit. Now, who wouldn't mind a 70% increase? I got one hand raised. All right, I'm with you. I could use a 70% increase, right? Everybody could. Having that increase is going to give you the ability to do more, right? And we all want to be out there doing more. So there's lots of benefits. It's out there. It's proven. It's been long enough that there's a proven track record for this information. Fewer claims and litigation. Now, that's never fun. Hate to bring it up, but it's real life. Stuff happens. All kind of stuff happens. Somebody's not happy somewhere. Miscommunication. Lots of miscommunication. With running with that BIM process, there's fewer miscommunications. There's fewer errors and omissions that have to be dealt with. Overall, that's going to help your process, right? Awesome. Reducing project duration. You want to end up reducing your project. How long is it going to take you to do it? If it's going to take me a little bit shorter to do a project, that's going to open the door to start another one, correct? So you'll be able to increase your workload, be able to continue to move forward, continue to increase your business, which ultimately we all want to do, right? We want that. That's why we're in business. So we want to continue to grow and to increase that. Short-term benefits. Actually, the short-term benefits was on the other side. So actually, the reducing work was on the other side. So you've got short-term benefit. Again, reducing the amount of time. Staffing recruitment. Yeah, I deal with it all the time. You've got people who will not change. It's not that they can't, they don't want to. My process has worked for this long. I see no reason to change. That does make it tough. Yeah, I fully admit that. It does make it tough, okay? Having younger staff, nothing against those who have been here longer than others. Nothing against them. Younger staff, they're going to jump in full-heartedly. They're going to know it. They're going to run with it. I see it all the time with my students. I said, I've got an 18-year-old right out of high school that is learning the Revit software like it's nothing. It's just, you know, eating a piece of cake for them. Yeah, it wasn't that easy for me, but I learned it. You know, I have students that are a bit older than me. They're struggling a little bit. They're still learning it. They want to learn it, and that's the key. They want to take that step. So it is a process. It is moving forward. There are many, many benefits that are available, okay? And again, it is the process of it. So as contractor, I need to meet BIM mandates. They're coming more and more. They're being required more and more. I have to do BIM. I have to do BIM. It's every job I'm looking at, I have to do BIM. Well, what am I going to do? I need to maintain and improve productivity. So back to productivity, yes. Ensure my teams can collaborate. You don't want to be the only one coming onto a project with a roll of drawings under your arm and everyone else has a model. Now I can say that because it actually happened. Came to collaboration, come to a meeting, they didn't have a model. They had drawings. Difficult process right there, okay? So more frequent BIM mandates increase pressure on contractors. It does, 100%. Maintain competitive advantage. We're seeing it more and more. Everything has to be stepped up and continued moving forward. Pressure to use leaner processes for fabrication, meeting cost demands. I've been working with a lot of information on and hearing information on prefabrication. Being able to have a warehouse that everything's being built there, then being transported and set on site. There is a lot of advantages to that. Key is worker safety. You're in a controlled environment. You're maybe not, 5 stories up in the air walking on some steel beams trying to put stuff in. You're maybe on a ladder, a bit safer, a little closer to the earth, right? If you do fall, it's not going to hurt that much. Guaranteed it still hurts, but there are many advantages that are available to you and to anybody doing that type of fabrication. Being able to take a Revit model to fabrication models. It is being done. Collaborating effectively with large teams. Teams are getting bigger and bigger. You think they'd get smaller and smaller. They're getting bigger. So you need to be able to collaborate with that multidiscipline. So design to detail to fabrication and then installing it. BIM process supports those workflows. It enables what you guys need to do from design all the way through construction. Prepare for future industry changes, because the industry continually changes, correct? From when you first started in industry, has it changed any? Yeah, I got some head nods. Yeah, just a wee bit. It's changed. Yeah. Industry's always changing. There's always something that's going to come up. Well, this is better than before. Got to learn it and move on. So help support delivery and required BIM mandates. So yeah, it's there to assist. Helps you add value to your business opportunities. So this is just Revit model up top, and at the bottom, getting into fabrication. The path is there for it. So we want to work with it as much as we can. Questions? Thoughts? Still awake? Maybe they're all asleep. I got some giggles. Okay, I'm happy. Nothing. All right. Let's take about a 10, 15-minute break. There are some snacks in the back. I believe there's some water and some different snacks. So let's take a break, kind of process and digest maybe a little bit of what has been said, come up with questions, and then we'll move forward. Back at 1:35. Yes, back at 1:35, please.